Holla at your boy. It's been a minute since I've uploaded a video. And if you're wondering, it's because I had open heart surgery. Check that out. This was near the end of September. Yep, believe it. But check it. I'm recuperating and my recovery is coming along nicely. So no worries. I'm back in business. So let's go. This next video you're about to see happened this past Labor Day. I took part in the first ever Swingstreet Book Fair. With the unfortunate cancellation of the much larger Harlem Book Fair, the Harlem Swingstreet Book Fair organizer, Geneva Birch, stepped up and righteously filled the void. The Swingstreet Book Fair brought together black writers and poets and creatives to market their wares at the world-famous music venue, Bill's Place. It's in the heart of Harlem, people, Harlem, New York. Bill's Place is usually a jazz speakeasy, but on this day, the venue became a literary mecca. Special thanks to Dr. Theda Palmer Saxton, co-owner of Bill's Place, along with her husband, jazz saxophonist Bill Saxton, for opening up their venue to us literary creative types. Miss Theda, she is a patron of the arts, patron of literature, and I hope this becomes an annual event. And as a bonus for being a participant of the Harlem Swingstreet Book Fair, I was interviewed by the fair organizers. So check this out. How you doing? I'm Ezekiel Springer Jr. I'm an author, science fiction and fantasy author. I've written the book, The ANANDA Accords. That's a science fiction novel. It's novella length. And I've also published in Fiyah magazine another science fiction novelette titled ANANSI MOON.
Wow, nice. Okay, well, let's begin with our questions. What does afrofuturism means to you, and not just a genre, but as a culture and responsibility?
Well, what does Afrofuturism mean to me, not just as a genre? I believe that it's about just showing that black people make it to the future. So it's a concept of hope. It's a concept of black liberation for the present that carries us into the future. It's about telling tales that traditionally white male leads have been in front of, that we can have black male leads and black female leads. So my book, The ANANDA Accords, the protagonist is a black male lead. He is the ambassador from Earth who is in charge of a delegation trying to stop a war between Earth and an alien race. And on his way to the ANANDA Accords, the title of my book, his group, his diplomatic mission gets sabotaged by an unseen enemy wielding mind-bending nanotechnology. So that's a black male lead on one side, and my novelette, the ANANSI MOON, is about a queer black woman who is, she's a smuggler. And she gets caught up in a mission where she has to bring a professor and his assistant to a planet that may have secrets to an alien race. Oh. And she has to help out with that. So I like moving back and forth between male and female protagonists. I mainly write about black people having adventures and doing things in the future. Okay. And also I'm working on a fantasy, a kind of, I guess you would call it an epic fantasy, about a young warrior who learns that he may be more than a warrior, that he may have magic within him. And he has like a little sidekick, a little female sidekick. So I like that dynamic. I like to play off these dynamics of men and women and anybody working together, and that black people are in the future, and that black people are also protagonist of fantasy.
Nice. Okay. Next question. How do you honor ancestral memory while building futuristic worlds?
That's a very good question. How do I honor ancestral memories by dealing with future worlds? Well, in my story, ANANSI MOON, it's about basically cultures being lost and cultures being regained. So that speaks to me a lot. You know, black culture, a lot of it's been lost, a lot of it's been regained, and there's also a huge measure of erasure, and that's going on. And ANANSI MOON taps into that like there is a planet that is trying to erase the culture of another group of people.
Oh wow, interesting. Now, what inspired the creation of ANANSI MOON, and how does folklore shape your sci-fi?
Folklore shapes my sci-fi a lot. Well, it's funny, the ANANDA Accords, I know you mentioned ANANSI MOON, but the ANANDA Accords came to me in a dream. And the climax came to me in a dream. And you know, I just feel that that's probably the ancestors speaking to me down the line. It's like, here's a story, here is a strong protagonist, black man, you know, trying to bring peace to a fractured galaxy. And so, you know, I think the ancestors are speaking to me through dream that it's about peace. We need to bring peace to the world, to the galaxy, to the universe.
Very good. How does being a Bronx native influence your storytelling lens?
Believe it or not, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, it does, because being in the Bronx, I grew up in the projects, so I have that sense of, you know, a lot of people pushed together by a government and a government system, and so that's, you know, I have to come from that lens that, you know, there was a government just, hey, you guys live here in the ghetto, in the projects, and that's a way of, you know, I'm not sure, I'm not really sure I'm answering the question correctly.
It's okay.
But
right.
but yeah, it's just being from the projects, you know, that's not a mindset, because you can be from the projects but not of the projects.
That's true.
But basically it just informs your thinking.
Okay. Now, what's the role of resistance in speculative fiction? What's the role of resistance in speculative fiction?
I believe the role of resistance in speculative fiction is very important. My story, ANANSI MOON, is definitely about resistance. Like I said, race of beings, their culture is lost and they're trying to regain a culture, and there's another planet an organization of planets trying to suppress their culture and their history. And you've got people trying to resist that. And I'm working on a short story right now that takes place in a future, sort of based on Africa, but it's like I would call it an evil, oppressive Wakanda, where basically there are people within this system trying to break that system through, basically the people control their subjects through dreams. And there are people who are trying to stop them and trying to free the people so they can keep their dreams to themselves and for themselves.
Interesting, very interesting. Now, this question is not on my list, but I'm curious, if you were supposed to describe me like you would describe one of your characters or the main protagonist in your film, how would you describe that character to someone if I was supposed to get a visual representation? What would they look like?
Most of my main characters are of the African diaspora, so I give them different shades of brown, different shades that black people come in. I love talking about hair textures and hairstyles in my writing and that sort of thing.
Okay, interesting. All right, they don't look like the people from Avatar, right?
No, usually not.
They don't have a tail.
No tails. They tend to be people. My main characters, I would put aliens in my story. In the ANANDA Accords, aliens do show up, and they are insectoid but they're not the focus.
Okay, wow, that sounds. I really want to watch this when you do make it. But on to the next question. How do you balance scientific realism with mystic imagination?
I try to do that. I try not to. I'm not a hard sci-fi writer. Okay. I know a lot of people like I only read hard sci-fi, and I love sci-fi, hard sci-fi as much as the next person. Okay. But I like adventure. I like wild technology that seems impossible, and I like trying to make the impossible probable.
Okay.
And so I try not to get too stuck in the weeds with hard science fiction. Not hard science fiction, but hard something straight out of an article in Scientific American, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Although I do try to obey the laws of physics, of course. Okay. But at the same time, I want the reader to have fun and let their mind travel.
Okay. So I get that. You want the interpretation to be done by the audience.
Right.
That's very good. Now, what's the most radical idea you've explored in your writing?
The most radical idea I've explored in my writing? That's a very good question. I would say with ANANSI MOON, I would think that basically I try to give, I don't know if it's a spoiler, but as the title suggests, ANANSI MOON. If you know your Caribbean and West African mythology, Anansi, he's a god of mischief, and he's also a spider god. Okay. And being that this is science fiction and not fantasy, I try to give an explanation as to who Anansi is scientifically.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now, how do you want young black boys to see themselves in your stories?
I want to see young black boys reading my stories, like you said, first of all, to see themselves and to know that is possible, and that they can be the hero of their own stories. They could be the sidekick. They could be the hero. They could be the guy that comes in at the last minute to help out the hero. It's all about not just young black boys and young black girls. Mm-hmm. It's about basically black people seeing that they could be the hero of a story and a type of story that usually wasn't open for us. Mm. Like Buck Rogers, aka Anthony Rogers. He's that heroic white guy fighting against an alien yellow peril, and it's just like, yeah, we've read that. Let's move on from that. There's bigger and more diverse stories to tell, and let people know that diverse stories can and should be told.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. We're coming up on almost our last question. What's your relationship with time, past, present, future, in your narratives?
In my narratives, Basically, the two stories that I've published, they take place in a far-flung future. So space travel is normal, wormhole travel is normal, that sort of thing. And I love stories about time travel. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, so you can give me a time travel story any day of the week, and not so much dealing in the past. I may write some steampunk stories, but the novel that I'm working on, it's a fantasy Africa that takes place in a fantasy past, but it's not really Africa, but it's a African-based, I'd say around the 1600s.
Yeah.
But it's not Africa 1600s. I just take bits and pieces from that time period for this particular work.
Wow, that's very interesting. If your books were portals, what kind of world would they lead us to?
Basically, these worlds would have some of the similar issues to this world.
Oh wow!
Yeah, in ANANDA Accords, we're talking war, and we're talking trying to establish a peace between two worlds, but at the same time. My main character, like I said, he's an ambassador, but he's working for this president who's facing, the Earth president who's facing a re-election, and he's facing an election against a billionaire, and I guess in the future he would be a trillionaire, and trillionaire businessman, and people are going to that spot of like, hey, maybe the trillionaire businessman is a great idea. And so, and in ANANSI MOON, it's basically there's a refugee crisis going on in ANANSI MOON,
okay.
And you have two governments. One government is oppressing those refugees, so that's why they're refugees, and the other government is basically hemming and hawing about should we let these refugees in. And my main character in ANANSI MOON, she is basically smuggling refugees out of that zone.
Kind of like a Harriet Tubman, if you will.
Yes, but she's more. It's more about the money for her at first.
Oh, I see. This has been a very interesting conversation and questions and answers. If someone, a young person was interested in writing, but they have a lot of obstacles in their lives, what are some of the suggestions and recommendations to them to overcome, dealing with the issues at home, to become a writer, or just to develop skills as a writer?
Right.
What would you tell them?
I would tell young people who are looking to get into writing, but they're facing obstacles, whatever free time you have, whatever alone time you have, use that. Use that time to write. If a parent is, if you're a latchkey kid and your parent has left you alone and you're not ready to do your homework yet, throw down 350 words real quick if you can. I like to do 350 words because that's technically like a page.
Okay.
One page of writing. And or before you go to bed at night, either journal or write something down, write a poem down real quick. Use that alone time, use that final time. And if you can get up early in the morning before going to school, get some words, a page, a paragraph, one sentence. That's what a mentor told me, one sentence. And one sentence a day, and after 365 days, you probably got yourself definitely a short story. You may even have yourself a small book.
Nice. Now, folks wanted to find your book or find you or contact you for public speaking engagements or just to buy your book, how would people find you online? Do we have a copy of your book?
Yes, we do. Not on me, but there is a picture of it somewhere. But if you come by my table, you can take a picture of it. It's on Amazon.com. It's the ANANDA ACCORDS on Amazon.com.
Okay,
Right,
so
here we go. Yep,
so everyone can see it.
this is the cover of the book, the ANANDA ACCORDS. Either look that up or look up Ezekiel Springer Jr. on Amazon.
Okay.
And it's a novella, and my novelette, ANANSI MOON, that appeared in fiyah magazine.
Nice.
And that is fiyahlitmag.com, all one word, all lowercase. You can find me at ezekielspringer.wordpress.com.
Okay.
And there you can see, there will also be links to Amazon and to Fiyah Lit Mag. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at It's Really Zeke Springer. And you can find me on Twitter at Zeke_pen67. And where else am I? I'm on Facebook as Facebook/Ezekiel Springer, and I'm also on Mastodon, but I can't remember my Mastodon. And I'm also on Bluesky, but I can't remember my Bluesky. But you'll find me. You'll find me.
Well, I want to say thank you. It's been very interesting speaking to you and hearing about your book. And any future engagements you have, the places that you're going to be, you can let us know.
Will do.
To your audience, or this audience who's watching. But I want to thank you for taking
Thank you. I really appreciate this.
And speaking with us and answering all those tough questions. And again, you're much appreciated. And for now, we're going to sign off. So if there's anything you want people to know, additional information, now's the chance.
Just, support black science fiction, black nerds, aka blurs. Support what they're doing. There's a lot of great work out there. A lot of cool stuff that you would greatly enjoy in black science fiction, Afrofuturism, and in black Afrofantasy. So check it out.
Okay, well, thank you again.
Thank you.
And till next time, we're signing off. ANANDA ACCORDS.
Hey folks, if you like futuristic sci-fi, check out my novella, The ANANDA ACCORDS. It's about an ambassador and his team whose diplomatic mission has been sabotaged by an unseen menace wielding mind-altering nanotechnology. Check it out on Amazon.